The great bird spoke with a trembling voice, but every word carried old pain. It no longer cared who would hatch the shell, its own child or another creature. What mattered was that the shell survived, because humans would only steal it, break it, and destroy hope before life could even begin. In its memory, cruel hands tore through the nest, eggs shattered, precious lives lost before they ever saw the sky. The little mushroom listened silently, its tiny face tightening with sadness. Even in another world, greed had not changed. Humans still took what was not theirs, ruining lives for profit and selfish desire. A heavy silence settled. Then, suddenly, the bird's sorrow ignited into rage. Its eyes burst like flames, burning with fury from years of grief. Fire gathered around its face, rising hotter with every heartbeat. The air shook. Its beak opened, and the cry that followed was no longer sorrow. It was anger powerful enough to scorch the earth itself. And the mushroom realized this pain had been buried for far too long. The bird's fury finally erupted. A pillar of fire exploded upward, wrapping its body in blazing light so intense that even the night seemed to retreat. The little mushroom stumbled back, shocked by the sudden wave of heat. But inside that violent fire, something unexpected happened. Soft chirping echoed from within the flames. Tiny figures emerged, small chicks, alive and unharmed, curled safely in the burning warmth as if the fire itself had become their cradle. The mushrooms stared in disbelief. This was not destruction. This flame was protection, a mother's instinct made visible. The great bird lowered its fierce gaze, and for the first time, the anger in its eyes softened. Its voice, though still heavy with emotion, became calm. Its children had survived because of that small mushroom, because someone had finally protected what humans once tried to destroy. And then, with quiet sincerity, the proud creature spoke words it never expected to say. "Thank you." For a moment, even the night became peaceful. The little mushroom stood frozen, still feeling the heat from the bird's flames. A thank you from such a powerful creature was the last thing it expected. Its tiny body trembled, smoke still rising from its side, and with an awkward stutter, it quickly answered that it was nothing, no problem at all. Above them, the crescent moon hung quietly in the dark sky, and the island finally felt calm again. Then the great bird spoke once more, this time with purpose. Tomorrow, it would personally guide the mushroom to the Mushroom Kingdom. The words drifted through the night so casually that at first the little mushroom barely reacted. It nodded automatically, already half exhausted, telling itself to rest. But then, its mind caught up. The Mushroom Kingdom? Its eyes widened, its whole body snapped upright as the meaning struck like lightning. That was the destination it had been searching for all this time. It stared at the bird in disbelief, heart pounding, wondering if it had heard correctly, because tomorrow, everything might finally change. The little mushroom could hardly contain itself. Its eyes sparkled brighter than the firelight as excitement burst out all at once. Someone powerful was truly willing to guide them to the Mushroom Kingdom. For a moment, all the fear, danger, and exhaustion vanished behind pure joy. The great bird, however, remained calm, half closing its eyes, as if already regretting the decision. It warned the mushroom not to test its patience before morning, but the mushroom, unusually obedient for once, quickly nodded and called the bird boss, promising to let it rest. At least, that was the plan, because only seconds later, curiosity took over again. Surrounded by bottles, powders, and gathered ingredients, the tiny mushrooms suddenly became completely focused. If they were leaving tomorrow, then tonight was the perfect chance to experiment. Mixing liquids, stirring strange materials, pouring one formula into another. It worked with serious determination, completely forgetting how late it was. The great bird watched silently from the side, one eye open, wondering what kind of chaos this small creature would create next, and under the quiet night sky, a new idea was already shaping shape inside that bowl. While the island slept, the little mushroom remained fully awake, completely absorbed in its late-night experiment. First, it carefully pulled out a piece of slime gel, soft, sticky, and strangely elastic. The gel dropped into the bowl with a wet splash, blending into the mixture already prepared. But that alone was not enough. Next came a heavy stone. With effort, the mushroom dragged it forward and slammed it beside the bowl, using its weight as the next ingredient in the process. Steam rose gently as the strange formula reacted. Then, with serious concentration, the mushroom gripped the stone and began crushing, pressing, and shaking everything together, refusing to stop until the texture changed. Its small body moved with determination despite the exhaustion. Finally, it leaned closer and activated its special ability: decompose. The surface of the mixture rippled instantly, breaking down under its power, each layer transforming into something smoother and more refined. Whatever it was making, this was no random experiment anymore. The mushroom had a purpose, and by morning, this strange invention might become something important for the journey ahead. Everything seemed to be going smoothly. The mixture had reached the perfect texture, and the little mushroom leaned closer, curious to test the final result. Even the great bird resting nearby opened one eye, sensing something unusual. The mushroom hesitated only a second, then took a small taste, and instantly, its face froze. A strange sound escaped its mouth before the reaction hit all at once. The next second, it violently spat everything out. The flavor was beyond terrible, so bad that even words could not describe it. Its tiny body shook, eyes watering, sweat pouring down as if it had swallowed poison instead of an invention. For a brief moment, complete silence covered the island. Then came the bird's reaction. Its eyes snapped open wide, flames rising again as it watched the mushroom spray that horrifying substance everywhere. A furious cry tore through the night. Whatever the mushroom had created, it was clearly dangerous enough to wake even a fire beast from sleep. And now, instead of resting peacefully before tomorrow's journey, the island was noisy all over again. After coughing out the terrible taste, the little mushroom wiped its mouth and stared at the result more carefully. Messy, unpleasant, but perhaps not completely useless. Its eyes brightened with sudden confidence. Since tomorrow's journey would demand strength, it decided this strange creation could still serve a purpose, a stamina potion for the great bird. Holding up the small bottle proudly, it offered the potion with innocent sincerity, hoping it would help the bird recover faster. But the moment the bird reacted, everything exploded again. Flames erupted around its body like a storm, wings spreading wide as if under attack. The bird's entire presence shook the ground, clearly offended by whatever smell or energy came from that bottle. The mushroom jumped back in panic, unable to understand why its helpful gesture had caused another fiery outburst. Then, as if the chaos itself triggered something deeper, hidden rewards surfaced. Items gathered from earlier battles and decompositions suddenly became clear. Scrolls, gold coins, potions, equipment, and most importantly, new potion recipes. Red, blue, yellow. For the first time, the mushroom realized tonight's disaster had also unlocked valuable knowledge. A failed taste, but a successful breakthrough. Morning arrived faster than expected. The quiet island disappeared beneath rushing wind as the great bird launched into the sky, cutting through the clouds like a streak of fire. Below, the ocean faded into the distance. This time, the mushroom was no longer walking toward its goal. It was flying straight toward it. Held tightly in one claw, the little mushroom swayed helplessly in the air, while its companion hung from the other side, both of them completely at the mercy of the bird's speed. The world below became smaller with every beat of those massive wings. Ahead waited the Mushroom Kingdom, the place the mushroom had searched for since the beginning. But even during flight, the great bird's voice remained stern. It warned them not to panic, and more importantly, once they arrived, they were to obey every instruction without question. The tone carried experience, as if what waited ahead was far more complicated than simply reaching a destination. For the little mushroom, excitement mixed with nervousness, because after all this time, the real journey was finally about to begin. High above the clouds, the journey continued at breathtaking speed. The wind rushed past so fiercely that even speaking became difficult. Yet the small pig companion seemed strangely comfortable, letting out a cheerful sound as if enjoying the flight. The mushroom, however, was far less relaxed. Dangling from the bird's claw with nothing beneath but endless sky, every gust felt like a reminder of how high they truly were. Then the great bird finally spoke. They were close. The Mushroom Kingdom was just ahead, and it was time to prepare for descent. At those words, tension instantly returned. The mushroom stiffened, trying to look down through the clouds, while its companion still appeared oddly fearless. Then, suddenly, the bird tilted downward. Its body cut sharply through the air, diving fast enough to make the world blur into streaks of light and wind. The mushroom's face twisted in panic as the speed increased. Clouds tore apart beneath them, and the land below slowly came into view. After everything they had crossed, forests, danger, fire, and survival, their destination was finally real. And within moments, they would enter the Mushroom Kingdom itself. As the bird descended, the little mushroom could barely process what was happening. Its face remained frozen, eyes spinning from the speed, mind still trying to recover from the sudden dive through the clouds. Beside it, the pig companion looked completely different, bright-eyed, excited, almost as if this terrifying drop were some kind of game. The contrast only made the mushroom more nervous. Then, the bird tightened its grip slightly, forcing the mushroom to look down. And at that moment, the view finally opened beneath them. Far below the clouds, hidden in the center of vast green land, a circular kingdom slowly came into focus. A perfect shape carved into the earth, surrounded by forests and wide-open terrain, standing out like something built with purpose long ago. The mushroom's expression changed instantly. Fear gave way to silence, because after every battle, every strange encounter, and every uncertain road, it was finally seeing the Mushroom Kingdom with its own eyes. The place it had chased for so long was no longer a rumor. It was right there, waiting below. At last, the full shape of the Mushroom Kingdom revealed itself. From above, it looked almost unreal, an enormous circular land enclosed like a protected world of its own, with layered colors spreading outward from the center like rings carefully built over countless years. The closer they came, the more obvious its design became. This was not a simple village. It was a kingdom built with order, boundaries, and hidden rules. At the very center, something brighter stood out, a core that seemed important enough to command everything around it. For the little mushroom, the sight was overwhelming. After such a long journey, this place finally had form, color, and scale. But before it could fully admire the view, something changed below. Two enormous wooden towers suddenly shot upward with terrifying speed, rising like barriers from the kingdom itself. They cut through the sky directly into the bird's path. A warning, a challenge, an unmistakable sign that outsiders were not welcomed so easily. The great bird did not slow down, but the mushroom immediately understood. Reaching the kingdom was only the beginning. Entering it would be another challenge entirely. The warning came only a second before impact. The great bird's voice turned sharp, telling them to hold on tightly because the kingdom had already begun its attack. In an instant, the atmosphere changed. The pig clung tightly, still trying to smile through the tension, while the little mushroom froze, unable to predict what would happen next. Then the sky itself seemed to split. Massive red projectiles shot upward from below, tearing through the air with incredible speed. They were not random defenses, they were aimed precisely at the bird. The great bird twisted its body mid-air, wings cutting sharply to avoid the first strike. Wind exploded around them. One projectile roared past so close that the mushroom could finally see its shape clearly. A giant spear-like weapon launched from the kingdom with enough force to pierce anything flying above it. The message was unmistakable. No matter who approached, the Mushroom Kingdom treated every unknown arrival as a threat first. And with more attacks likely coming, their arrival had already turned into a battle in the sky. The great bird did not hesitate. With one powerful turn, it faced the incoming threat directly, its eyes sharpening as flames gathered around its beak. Then came the counterattack. Fire magic. Fire breath. A blazing stream erupted forward, exploding against the airborne weapon with enough force to light the sky itself. The impact scattered burning fragments through the clouds, briefly turning the battlefield above the kingdom into a storm of fire and sparks. The mushrooms stared upward, stunned by the sheer power protecting them. But even as the danger passed, confusion remained. What exactly was attacking them? Who inside the Mushroom Kingdom had enough strength to launch weapons like that into the sky? The answer from the great bird came immediately, and it carried weight. Your own kind. That single statement hit harder than the explosion, because this meant the danger ahead was not from monsters, beasts, or enemies from the wild. It was coming from mushrooms themselves. And for the little mushroom, that realization changed everything. The place it had longed to reach might not welcome it at all. After the explosion, the flames around the great bird slowly faded, leaving only drifting sparks in the air. Its wings remained steady as it descended toward the outer edge of the Mushroom Kingdom. Now, the kingdom's barrier could be seen clearly, a vast white wall surrounding the entire circular land, bright enough to reflect sunlight into rainbow colors. Below that wall, movement quickly gathered. Small mushroom figures appeared first, lining up along the edge as if summoned by alarm. Then came taller figures in robes, mushroom magicians, staffs already raised before the bird had even reached landing distance. No one waited to ask questions. No one welcomed the arrival. Magic began to gather immediately, glowing at the tips of their staffs as more mushrooms rushed into position. The little mushroom looked down in silence, realizing how organized the kingdom truly was. This place had defenses, hierarchy, and strict control. Even from above, it was obvious. Every outsider was treated as a possible threat, and as the bird descended lower, tension spread through the air, because one wrong move now could turn their arrival into a full confrontation. The moment they landed, the little mushroom's system reacted instantly. A status window appeared before its eyes, revealing one of the kingdom's defenders, a mushroom magician, level 44. Its magic power was overwhelming, far beyond anything the mushroom had faced so far. This was no ordinary guard. The magician stood calmly, staff glowing with controlled precision, as if even a small gesture could trigger powerful spells. Then, without warning, it began chanting in the language of the kingdom. Before the little mushroom could even understand what was happening, a soft tap from the staff landed on its head, and suddenly, light burst around its body. One flash, then another, then many more, pulsing repeatedly as magic scanned every part of it. The mushroom stayed completely still, confused but unable to resist. This was not an attack. It felt more like an inspection, or perhaps verification. The kingdom was checking exactly what had arrived at its gate, and with every pulse of magic, one truth became clearer. Inside this kingdom, every stranger would be judged before being trusted. The inspection was interrupted by something completely unexpected. With a loud burst, a strange little creature suddenly appeared, small, round, black, and wearing a red mushroom cap covered in sharp spikes. It bounced into view with reckless energy, almost like it had arrived simply to cause trouble. Instantly, the mushroom system identified it. A bomb shroom, level 24. Its basic stats were low, almost harmless at first glance, but one warning stood out above everything else: self-destruction. A creature capable of turning itself into a deadly blast, strong enough to destroy enemies far beyond its own level. That made its playful movement far more dangerous than it looked. The little bomb creature hopped closer without fear, bouncing across the stone floor as if completely unaware of tension around it. Or perhaps, fully aware and enjoying it. Then, before anyone stopped it, a hand reached out and grabbed it mid-bounce. The movement was quick and practiced, suggesting this was not unusual inside the kingdom. For the little mushroom, every second inside the Mushroom Kingdom revealed something new, and each new discovery felt stranger than the last. The one holding the bomb shroom turned out to be even stranger. A large purple mushroom stood at the wall, its eyes spinning in circles, its body heavy and unmoving, but the object mounted on top of its head explained everything. This was no decoration. The mushroom system immediately identified it: a cannon shroom, level 36. Unlike ordinary mushrooms, this one had evolved into a living artillery unit. Its body barely moved, but the cannon built into its head made it a dangerous defender, capable of launching powerful projectiles directly from its own body. And now, instead of normal ammunition, it was using the bomb shroom. The little mushroom stared upward, realizing why the kingdom's attacks had reached so high into the sky. Those giant projectiles from earlier were not machines. They were living weapons working together. Then something changed. A drop of liquid slipped from the cannon shroom's nose. Its face twisted, its spiral eyes widened, and suddenly the calm defender looked alarmed, as if it had just recognized who had arrived, or understood something too late. Inside the Mushroom Kingdom, even the defenders were beginning to react differently, because this arrival was clearly no ordinary one. The cannon shroom suddenly snapped into action. Its mouth opened wide in a loud warning, shouting for everyone nearby to dodge immediately. The urgency in its voice left no room for doubt. Something dangerous was about to happen. But before anyone could react properly, its entire body jerked violently. The cannon mounted on its head shifted with force, and the bomb shroom loaded above it triggered the launch. A deafening blast tore through the air. Boom! The recoil was so intense that even the cannon shroom itself shook under the impact. Yet it did not stop there. Again, boom! And again. Multiple cannons across the wall fired almost together, each launching explosive ammunition upward in rapid succession. The sky above the kingdom filled with flying projectiles, turning the air into a dangerous battlefield once more. For the little mushroom, the sight was overwhelming. These were not simple guards. This kingdom had built an entire defense system out of evolved mushrooms, each one perfectly suited for battle. And now, every cannon was aimed at the same target, the great bird carrying them all. The cannon barrage reached the sky in seconds. One explosive projectile after another shot upward, surrounding the phoenix from every direction. There was almost no space left to escape. For a brief moment, even the bird seemed trapped. Its sharp eyes narrowed, calculating every incoming angle with perfect focus. Then, with one sudden cry, it moved. The phoenix folded one wing and twisted its body sharply to the side, cutting through the air with incredible precision. The attack missed by only a breath. The little mushroom and pig clung tightly beneath it as the bird performed a violent aerial dodge, barely escaping the first wave. But the danger had not ended. Behind them, more bomb shrooms were already approaching. Their black faces grinned as they flew through the sky like living missiles, still burning from launch. This was no random defense anymore. The Mushroom Kingdom had sent explosive pursuers directly after them. And now the phoenix understood. If it slowed down even once, they would all be caught in the blast. Just when it looked like the phoenix had escaped, the trap changed again. One of the flying bomb shrooms suddenly detonated in midair. But this was not an ordinary blast. The explosion released a burst of spores that spread violently through the sky, striking one of the launched projectiles nearby. The moment the spores touched it, the projectile shifted direction. What had been flying past suddenly curved back toward its target. The attack was being guided. Every explosion in the air was now controlling the battlefield, turning missed shots into new threats. The phoenix instantly sensed the danger. Its wings tightened as it prepared for another evasive turn, but now the attacks were no longer predictable. They were adapting in real time. Below them, sharp projectiles and redirected blasts formed a deadly net, each one closing every possible escape route. The little mushroom looked up in shock. This defense was far more advanced than anyone expected. The Mushroom Kingdom was not simply trying to stop intruders, it was hunting them with coordinated, evolved skills.